Lena Davis stepped through the entrance of a small but familiar branch of Davis Financial, the very bank she had built from nothing all those years ago. The late afternoon sun painted the sky in golden hues, its fading light spilling through the glass doors, casting long, elegant shadows across the polished marble floor. As the automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, Lena entered, her sneakers tapping lightly against the smooth surface. She adjusted the cozy cardigan draped over her shoulders, a far cry from the crisp suits and high heels she usually wore. But today, she wasn't here as a CEO or a business mogul. She wasn't here for high-profile meetings, urgent decisions, or major financial dealings.
No.
Today, she was just a regular customer, stepping in for a simple, everyday transaction. She just needed to make a withdrawal, something anyone could do, on any given day. But this wasn't just any bank. This was her bank. The one she had built with her own two hands, fueled by a vision of fairness, accessibility, and trust. She had poured years of dedication into Davis Financial, steering it through challenges, ensuring it stood for honesty and integrity. And this particular branch? It held a special place in her heart. She had personally chosen its location, oversaw its grand opening, and even cut the ceremonial ribbon. Yet today, there were no cameras, no applause, no board members waiting to shake her hand. Just Lena, in a cardigan and sneakers, approaching the counter with a quiet but confident presence. She had no intention of announcing who she was, no desire to be treated differently. She only wanted to confirm that her bank, the one she had built with pride, still stood by the values it preached. But the moment she reached the counter, something felt off. The young teller, her name tag read Sophie Matthews, barely acknowledged her. No polite hello, no welcoming smile. Just a quick, indifferent glance before her attention flicked right back to the glowing computer screen. Lena cleared her throat, her voice calm but clear. Hi, I'd like to make a withdrawal. Sophie didn't even look up. Instead, she slid a clipboard across the counter, her voice flat and uninterested. Fill this out. Lena exhaled slowly, taking the clipboard without a word. The form was simple. Name, account number, withdrawal amount. Without hesitation, she filled in the details, jotting down the sum. $5,000. Not an exorbitant amount, not by any means, but enough to require identification. She handed the form back, expecting a quick and routine approval. Instead, something in Sophie's demeanor shifted. Her eyes flicked across the form, then to Lena's ID, then back to the screen. Her posture straightened slightly, her fingers hesitating over the keyboard. And then, instead of proceeding, Sophie muttered, "Hold on a second," her voice uncertain now. Without another word, she grabbed Lena's ID and disappeared through a frosted glass door leading to the back office. Lena stood still, her fingers tapping lightly against the cool marble counter. She had expected professionalism, maybe even a touch of warmth, but this felt different. Minutes passed. Then, Sophie returned, but she wasn't alone. A man followed behind her, dressed in a crisp suit and wearing a tight-lipped smile. His name tag read Brad Sullivan, branch manager. "Good afternoon, Miss Davis," Brad greeted, his tone polite but distant. His sharp eyes scanned her quickly before landing on the form. "I understand you're making a withdrawal?" Lena nodded.
Yes.
$5,000 from my personal account. Brad hesitated. Then, with an expression just a little too careful, he said, "May I take another look at your ID?" Lena felt an immediate flicker of irritation. "I already gave it to Sophie," she responded, her voice steady but firm. Brad didn't acknowledge the comment. Instead, he lifted the ID, holding it up to the light as though he were inspecting every tiny detail for signs of forgery. Lena knew this process. She knew bank policies inside and out. This was not normal. She had been a long-standing customer of Davis Financial, her bank. Then came the next question, one that made Lena's patience waver. "What do you do for work, Miss Davis?" Her jaw tightened. Was he serious? "I run a bank," she answered, her voice sharper now. Brad gave a slow nod, exchanging a glance with Sophie. Then he pressed further. Is this a personal account or a business account? Lena's patience was wearing thin. It's right there on the form. Her voice was icy now. Brad ignored the comment. He turned her ID over again, his fingers lingering as though looking for an excuse, any excuse, to delay her transaction. The air in the lobby had shifted, the usual murmur of customers and employees giving way to an uncomfortable silence. Sophie remained still, her eyes darting between Brad and Lena, her unease evident. Then Brad asked a question that made Lena's stomach tighten. Just to clarify, is this your first time banking with us? Her breath hitched. Was he serious? Lena had opened this very branch with her own hands. She had personally signed off on every decision, every employee hire, every policy. Her name was on the building. I've banked here since the day this branch opened, Lena replied, her tone now unwavering. Brad paused, considered her words. Then, as if he hadn't just ignored everything she said, he continued, "And you're withdrawing $5,000, correct?" He spoke slowly, like the amount needed to be justified. Lena felt frustration creeping into her voice. Yes. And then, again, "What do you do for work, Miss Davis?" A wave of disbelief washed over her. Hadn't she just answered this? Was her occupation not enough? Was being the CEO of Davis Financial somehow not sufficient proof? She leaned in slightly, her expression hardened. "I run a bank." Then, with a voice that carried the weight of absolute certainty, she added, "The same bank you work for." Brad hesitated. Then another pointed question. "What kind of bank?" Lena's fingers curled against the counter. Her patience had run its course. She took a slow, deep breath, grounding herself before delivering her next words with unshakable authority. "I own this bank, Brad." Silence. The weight of her words hung in the air. For the first time, Brad seemed to register who he was speaking to. But even then, she could see it. He was still looking for a reason to deny her. And Lena? She was done.